Monday, February 5th, 2018, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So I'm going to look at the markets this morning and at the arrogance of central bankers and why hopefully they're a dying breed, a dinosaur in the making, mainly because of their intellectual dishonesty and the fact that central bank, as the name says, is an unnecessary institution in a free market, free society, capitalist system. It's something that, it's an institution that works well in a communist system where the government and the state are in charge with the big corporations of everything like we had in the Soviet Union. So it's just before 8 a.m. London. Overnight, I saw yesterday early on, around 11 p.m. London, Sunday, when the markets, the futures opened, the stock market really dumped. We got down over 300 points on the Dow. This morning, the Dow is down 160. So we were down 666 on Friday. So it's continuing the weakness in the stock market. S&P is down 9.5. Not down as much as the Dow percentage-wise. The Dow is down 0.6. S&P 1/3%. Precious metals, actually silver's rebounding this morning. Silver's up almost, up 2/3%. 1671, up 12 cents. Gold has been in a fairly narrow range, 1329 to 1335. We're now at 1332, down about 50 cents. So gold and silver kind of have stabilized. The stock market has continued lower. The dollar has weakened against the yen. It's now down 23 pips. But the pound is weak against the dollar, down 27, and the euro is unchanged. So interesting markets so far this morning. The 10-year yield has continued to spike higher. We're up 2 basis points at 286.20 from Friday. We did spike to 288 overnight. So bond markets continue to drop. Stock markets continue to drop as well. Cryptocurrencies still having a tough time, and I'm not surprised. We're still seeing the consolidation. We're just above the 200-day moving average here. Bitcoin is at 8,000. The low's been just below 8,000 like it was a few days ago. Ethereum getting hammered quite badly too, 826. Ripple below $1. Litecoin doing fairly well, 144. EOS 8.5. Am I concerned? No. Just when I listened to what the central banker said, I thought to myself, that's why we need decentralized systems, and the only way you can get that is through the blockchain. Does that mean I don't believe in gold and silver anymore? No, because gold and silver are also the anti-bankers metal. They're like the silver bullet for central bankers, gold, physical gold and silver. That's why they manipulate it so much. So I got an email from one of the viewers, sent me a link to a video. They're talking about financial crisis at Davos. So it's the World Economic Forum YouTube site. I listened to that. And in that video, one of the guys participating was Kenneth Rogoff, who's like a PhD economist. He says he wrote a book last year about the fact that cash is horrible, that we need to ban cash. So he's one of these, brainwashed Keynesians. And one thing that he said that was really interesting, before I go further, because before I go on to what I really wanted to say about central bankers, this guy also showed a lot of arrogance. He was talking about the previous financial crisis in 2008, and then he said that right now, yes, stock markets are overvalued, but it's because bond yields and interest rates are so low. And he said, I'm not sure, and we don't know why, they've stayed so low. And it's like, hello? Well, it's because the central bankers are buying all the bonds and keeping interest rates low artificially. So what, a deceptive character he is, to come out and say that. And then you listen to, and I also got an interview that was sent to me by a link of Nomi Prins. And I also watched Nomi Prins being interviewed by Max Kaiser. And she's got a new book coming out in May called The Collusion, which talks about, it says collusion, how central bankers rigged the world, how they rigging the world. How all the prices that we see don't reflect reality because they've been able to print $21 trillion of fake money, like she says, and buy assets and basically own the markets. So she, she's honest. She's come out and said the truth. Her book, I'll put the link below to her book in the description. So that was Kenneth Rogoff. But the guy that really annoyed me is a guy by Benoit Coeuré. And who is Benoit Coeuré? Well, he's the deputy president or deputy chief of that great central bank, the ECB. He's a Frenchman. I've looked at his, CV on Bloomberg, and he's 48 years old. He's head of international and European relations, member of the executive board, and member of governing council, European Central Bank. And here's his, background. Benoit Coeuré has been head of international and European relations of European Central Bank since 2014. He's been a member of the executive board of the ECB since January 2012 and a member of the governing council, deputy director general of the French Treasury, belongs to the inner circle of officials who manage the country's debt and finances. Has also been a key figure behind the scenes at meetings of Group of Seven, G20, G7. So, and his salary compensation that the European taxpayer pays him, 277,896 euros. That was in 2016. And you will understand why I've come up with his salary. Because this is the other fallacy that central bankers have is that they say that higher wages create inflation. They don't say that it's because of the 21 trillion that they printing that we're seeing, higher living costs, and they lie about the fact that they can't get inflation up to 2%. But that's the fudged measure of inflation by governments and central bankers of the CPI. There's even another central banker in this conference they had at Davos, one of these projects, whatever you call it. She was the Swedish central banker, this woman, and she said, "Oh, we've had a problem of very low inflation. We had to, how can you have a problem with very low inflation? How can very, low inflation be a problem? It's a good thing." But anyway, I'll play here the part that really, annoyed me about this guy, and I'll play it right now. You can listen to it.
That we've injected so much money in the system and inflation is still weak. That's the starting point of the discussion. Though, Milton Friedman said inflation is always and everywhere monetary phenomenon.
Yeah, he's right about that.
Huge amounts of money and inflation remains low. So what's happening? And here I think you really have to think about the monetary policy transmission process as a two-step process.
This is rubbish,
First
this
step
monetary
is
process.
Monetary policy impulses to the economy, aggregate demand, slack in the economy. And the second step is from slack in the economy, unemployment, aggregate demand to inflation. Really two steps. And the first step has been working. incredibly well. I mean, QE
Rubbish.
has been a resounding
Yeah,
success.
Europe has done really well. He says QE has been a resounding success. That's why you get like 50% youth unemployment in Europe.
We've seen, I guess, 18 quarters of consecutive growth now. This is being the strongest and broadest recovery for the last.
Well, no wonder they've seen some growth. You know, they've printed so much money. They have to see at least a bit of growth. Anyway, I'll keep going.
20 years. It has exceeded our expectations. It's a very strong impact that we've seen. And it's largely due to QE, including, by the way, the exchange rate channel of transmission of QE that we've discussed already, which is part of it, and which remains part of it. So that has been incredibly useful. Now the question is when and how does it translate into a higher inflation, and that's where
Well, see, that's why, you know, that's where these PhD economists, they've got no clue. They've already created the inflation, Mr. Coeuré, by printing money. That's what inflation is. You're talking about prices. Cost of living has gone up already in Europe.
The Phillips curve fits in, and the way.
But it's coming up here, the part that really annoyed me, and you see what I mean.
We think of the Phillips curve in the Eurozone is really as being very flat for high levels of unemployment because workers have no bargaining power. They're not in a position to ask for higher wages. They just want a job. And
that's what, he just went, oh, they just want a job. And he laughed. I mean, it just shows how arrogant he is. He's bringing down European productivity because he's a useless bureaucrat that doesn't deserve a job, because we don't need central bankers to determine the price of money. So by earning almost 300,000 euros, he's the problem, not people doing real jobs. So that's Benoit Coeuré. If you wanted the poster boy of arrogance in central banking, that's your man. So, very interesting markets this morning. It could be a very interesting Monday after the huge drop we saw in the Dow in terms of points. Of course, percentage-wise is only 2.5% on Friday, but with markets so elevated nominally now, you could get some huge numbers like 1,000 or 2,000 points. So it'll be interesting to see later on what happens. Keep an eye on the bond markets as well. And that's it. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, share it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Twitter and on steemit.com. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.